On my 65th birthday, my son's text revealed an incredible truth. Life-changing love discovered. Jim Thompson watched the sun dip below the horizon, casting a warm glow over his small Midwestern town. At 65, birthdays felt less like celebrations and more like reminders of time slipping away. The scent of grilling burgers wafted from his backyard, where neighbors were gathering for a birthday barbecue, but the excitement fell flat against the heavy ache in his heart. He glanced at the phone on the table, anxiously waiting for a message from his son Billy, who had moved to the city years ago, chasing the American dream. Would Billy remember? Jim's thoughts drifted to his late wife, Linda, whose love had filled their humble home with laughter and warmth. He could still hear her voice, full of encouragement, echoing in his ears. Every corner of this house held memories, her fierce independence, her unwavering support for their dreams. He smiled, desperate to capture that feeling, though it felt dimmer with each passing day. Laughter erupted from the backyard, friends raising their glasses in celebration, and Jim plastered a smile on his face. Inside, though, he was a bundle of nerves. Would the heart of his world still beat for him after all the distance? Just as Jim took a deep breath, the familiar buzz of his phone shattered the stillness. He grabbed it, his hands trembling, and read the text. "Dad, I'm coming home to introduce you to someone special." A wave of joy washed over him, mixed with a splash of anxiety. Who was this someone special? Could he embrace her? In his mind, he envisioned someone like Linda, strong, fiercely independent, and capable of mending hearts. But as the day unfolded, reality began to clash with his dreams. When Billy introduced Emily, a woman shaped by hardships he'd never faced, the air felt charged with uncertainty. Her laughter was melodic, yet tinged with stories of a life Jim couldn't imagine. Why didn't Billy choose someone stable, someone secure? He worried that his son's choice would lead him down a risky path, and the prejudices Jim had always clung to began to bubble up. The backyard buzzed with chatter, but Jim was lost in a whirlwind of thoughts. Neighbors shared stories of love, acceptance, and family. "Remember, Jim," Mrs. Baker said, a hand on his shoulder. "Love knows no boundaries." But in his heart, he felt an overwhelming tug of war between concern for Billy and his ingrained beliefs. As the evening wore on, Jim's resolve crumbled during dinner. Voices were raised, feelings were hurt, and for a moment, silence enveloped the table. In that stillness, Jim realized he saw his own biases reflected back at him. Could he truly embrace this woman who captured his son's heart? Before he could reply, a surge of emotion swept over him. A secret long buried began to unravel in his mind, shaking the core of what he believed about family. Just when he thought everything might break apart, Jim understood. Acceptance might be harder than he thought, yet it was something he desperately needed to strive for. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now, let's continue. As the stars twinkled above, Jim stood on the porch, holding his phone tightly, the weight of the text heavy in his hands. Could love really transcend the divides of his beliefs? Just then, footsteps approached, echoing his deepest fears and hopes. He turned, prepared to confront the future, still unsure. Could he embrace a love that challenged his very foundation? Jim took a deep breath, steadying himself as he faced Billy and Emily, who stood hand in hand, their faces lit by the porch light. Billy's eyes sparkled with excitement, but also concern. It was clear he sensed the tension lingering in the air. "Dad," he began, his voice steady, "I want you to meet Emily properly. She's amazing, and I know you two will connect." As he introduced her, Jim's heart raced. How could he communicate his fears without sounding closed-minded? He forced a smile, but it felt like a tight mask. Emily stepped forward, her vibrant personality shining brightly. "Hi, Mr. Thompson. It's so great to finally meet you. I've heard so much about you." Her enthusiasm was infectious. He found himself laughing at her quirky jokes, but then the shadow of doubt crept back in. What if this was all a mistake? "I hope you don't mind, but I brought a little something for your birthday," Emily continued, pulling a small, beautifully wrapped box from her bag. Billy's eyes lit up, urging Jim to open it. Inside was a hand-painted mug adorned with flowers. "I thought you could use a fresh mug for your morning coffee," she said, her face lighting up with hope. "I noticed you had a few chipped ones in your cabinet." Jim's heart softened at her thoughtfulness. Simple yet substantial. There was something genuine in her gesture. He turned it over in his hands, feeling the warmth it radiated. Still, deeper questions tugged at him as he forced a smile. "Thank you, Emily. It's beautiful," he managed, feeling the weight of the moment. "Mugs like that always remind me of my grandmother," she said, her tone growing wistful. "She taught me how important it is to create a home filled with warmth, love, and a good cup of coffee." There was something so magnetic about her words, yet that realization came with a stab of reality. Would all the love in the world be enough to shield Billy from heartache? Billy stepped closer to Emily, their bond evident. "Dad, I love her," he stated boldly, a challenge hanging in the air. "I've never felt this way about anyone before." A coil of tension tightened in Jim's chest. "Billy, she's not like the girls you dated before." "Exactly. She's not just another girlfriend," he argued. "You have to see that she's so much more. Can't you please try?" With those words, Jim's heart thrummed louder. Could he truly put aside his deeply held views and embrace this love? The silence felt heavy now, filled with expectation and fear. From inside the house, laughter echoed around them. Every joke an unwelcome reminder of the life he had built, the values he had instilled in Billy. Yet here stood his son, ready to reshape everything. "Dad, please, for my sake?" Billy's voice softened, charged with emotion. Jim felt the floodgates open. Emily was brave. She faced her own struggles every day. Life was messy, but was he ready to let go of his own need for control? His eyes met Emily's, searching for understanding. "I'm just worried." "It's okay to be worried," she assured gently. "I want you to get to know me, and I want you to feel safe knowing I love your son." Suddenly, the world around him, would it shift and bend? Would he bend? The question hung heavily in the air. Could a father learn to embrace the unexpected? As they stood on the porch, waiting for Jim's answer, he felt the stirrings of change within him. Maybe love could break down the walls he had built. And for the first time in a long while, Jim felt a flicker of hope ignite deep in his heart. Would he find the strength to embrace the evolving landscape of his family? Before he could fully process his own thoughts, a new message pinged on his phone. This one was from Linda's old friend, someone he hadn't heard from in years, opening a door Jim never knew existed. What could this message reveal about acceptance and family ties? Jim glanced down at his phone screen, the message drawing him away from the moment between him, Billy, and Emily. The words seemed to swim before his eyes. It was from Linda's old friend, someone he hadn't thought about in years. The name, familiar yet distant, sent a shiver down his spine. He read the message again, his heart quickening. "Jim, I hope this finds you well. I wanted to reach out because there's something from our past that might shed light on where Billy is headed and how to support him." He looked up, only to discover both Billy and Emily staring at him, their expressions a blend of curiosity and concern. The weight of his next words felt monumental. "Excuse me for a moment," he said quietly, stepping away from the porch. He turned his back to them, clutching his phone in a white-knuckled grip. The memories from years gone by rushed at him like a tidal wave. Linda, her laughter, the way she had encouraged him to embrace change. And yet, here he was, caught in a cycle of hesitation and fear. He hesitated for a moment, grappling with the gravity of the unknown message. What could he possibly learn about acceptance from a distant memory? Thinking back to all he'd worked to establish in Billy's life, Jim felt a pang of regret. Had he been so rigid that he'd built walls instead of bridges? Now, while he held the weight of his past in one hand, Billy was asking him to let go of his fears and welcome something new. With a deep breath, he opened the message once more, his fingers trembling slightly. "There's something about Emily that reminds me of a time when love was tested, and I think you need to hear it." Each word seemed to resonate louder in his heart, echoing the sentiments he had just been battling against on the porch. He took a moment to collect his thoughts, recalling how Linda had often said that acceptance was as vital as love itself. She had known the complexities of family, the ways we shape our values, and how the very same values could confine us. "Dad?" Billy's voice broke through the swirl of memories, drawing him back to the present. "Is everything okay?" Jim turned back, meeting their expectant gazes. I just got a message," he replied, frowning as he debated revealing too much too soon. "It's from an old friend of your mom's. It might change how I view, well, everything." "Just read it. You might be surprised," Emily encouraged, her eyes bright with hope. Her expression pulled at something deep within him. For the first time, he felt a hint of curiosity coupled with the fear that had gripped him moments before. Maybe this was what he needed, a nudge from the universe to embrace this moment, to embrace change. As he prepared to read the message aloud to them, his heart raced. What if it brought clarity? What if it only added to his confusion? The hesitation tied knots in his stomach, but he held on to the thought that perhaps love could indeed change everything. "Okay, here goes," he finally said, feeling the weight of every shift in emotion in the air. And just as he began to share the first line of the message, his phone buzzed again. Another notification, another surprise lurking just beneath the surface. How could all this be happening at once? Jim swallowed hard, raising his eyebrow. Would this new message further complicate things, or would it peel back the layers of his past, revealing what he needed to grow? The answer seemed just out of reach, and a rush of anticipation coursed through him. In that instant, he realized he might be standing on the brink of a revelation that could change everything. What secrets lay hidden in his past, and how might they guide him into embracing a future he never expected? Jim's heart pounded as he stared at his phone, the screen lighting up with another message. He hesitated, feeling the tension thick in the air, millimeters away from an unveiling. As Billy and Emily watched him, their eyes flickered with worry and curiosity. They could sense the weight of whatever was unfolding. With trembling hands, he slid the notification open. It was another message from Linda's old friend. "Jim, I know this may come as a shock, but you need to know that it might relate to your concerns for Billy. Remember that time in '99? His breath hitched. Memories flooded back, ones he had buried deep. The ache of nostalgia mingled with dread. It was the year they lost touch, the year he accepted a different kind of love without knowing how to speak it. It had left him feeling disoriented. But now, with the stakes so high, the fear of the unknown propelled him forward. "Dad, what's that about?" Billy's voice called out, grounding him. He realized he was still standing in silence, processing, while they waited for him. I think it might be about your mom," he finally said, a knot tightening in his throat. He could feel both kids' eyes on him, heavy with expectation. "About Mom? What do you mean?" Emily asked, leaning in, as if her proximity could chase away the shadows of uncertainty. I need a moment to gather my thoughts," Jim replied. His voice cracked, betraying the flood of emotions. This wasn't just a conversation. Just then, the weight of the past became tangible, knotting painfully in his gut. He finally decided to read the message aloud. This text might reveal something fundamental, something that could reshape the way we support Billy. He paused, the silence heavy around them, then continued. As I think about it, the key moment was when we learned how to accept love in its many forms. What does that mean? Billy pressed, still confused. The world is bigger than us. It has layers, and sometimes we have to peel them back to find what's real, Jim said, his voice steadier now, but still clouded by emotion. Emily squeezed Billy's hand. We have to face whatever this is, together, right? With that, Jim felt a rush of resolve. He plunged back into the message, hoping the answers awaited him. She recalls a moment back then that challenged us, Jim read on. It was a difficult time for all of us. Love can be messy. There were moments when it changed us profoundly, and those changes sometimes hurt. But the most important lessons were how we handled it together. He glanced at Billy and Emily, watching as they grappled with the significance, their faces a mix of awe and concern. Your mother believed in understanding, in making space for all kinds of love. Love. A silence fell over the trio, and Jim felt their collective fear begin to shift, even if only slightly. But before he could delve deeper, the door creaked open. Their neighbor, Mrs. Anderson, stood just in time to hear the last of Jim's words. "What's this about love?" she asked with a knowing smile, but her cheeriness felt like an intrusion. The distracting sound snapped Jim from his reverie, and he felt his cheeks flush. "Oh, we were just reminiscing." "Rethinking a relationship?" she pressed with warmth, her intuition sharp. Jim hesitated. This was no casual chat anymore. "We were talking about Linda, her lessons." Mrs. Anderson nodded knowingly, her eyes shining with empathy. Sometimes the echoes from our past are precisely what we need to guide us, especially when it comes to love. Jim could feel the weight of her words lingering, the truth they carried casting a long shadow across their porch. He looked back at Billy and Emily, the persistence of their gaze urging him to keep going. With his heart racing, he took a breath, sensing a door opening wide just beyond view. What awaited them on the other side? Tension electrified the air as he felt they were standing on the brink of something monumental. All these pieces, what if they're connected? What if we discover things we never expected? The room swelled with an electricity of hope. Together, they were about to embark on a journey of understanding, one that could reshape tomorrow. And just as Jim prepared to dig deeper, another buzz jolted through his fingers. Another message waiting to spill its secrets. Would it be the key to unlocking the truths they desperately needed? With that question echoing in their minds, the air thickened with anticipation. The tension in the air was palpable as Jim's fingers hovered over the screen. He could feel Billy and Emily's anxious eyes on him, and a momentary flicker of guilt passed through him for holding back. This wasn't just about the past, it was about their future. He took a deep breath and opened the message. "Jim, remember the picnic in '99? The one where everything seemed to fall apart?" The words sank in. His heart raced at the recollection. How could a simple picnic morph into a life lesson? Suddenly, memories swirled around him like autumn leaves, both beautiful and tumultuous. "Dad?" Billy's voice broke through his thoughts. There was concern etched on his face, and Jim realized he was still standing there, frozen. "I'm here," he finally replied, shaken off the weight. "It references a time when your mom had to face a hard truth, a decision that changed everything." Emily leaned forward, her curiosity sharper than before. "What decision?" "Sometimes love means knowing when to let go," Jim said softly, feeling the ache of loss creeping back. He could still see Linda, her smile brightening a day that felt so dark. "But why didn't you tell us this sooner?" Billy asked, brows furrowing. "I thought I was protecting you," Jim answered, a lump in his throat. "Protecting them from what?" He wondered if that was a lie he had told himself for too long. Before he could speak again, the phone buzzed in his hand, pulling him back from the precipice of memories. There's more. He looked at the message again, feeling its urgency. It says, "Jim, the truth about that day isn't what you think. You need to look deeper." What does that even mean? Emily shot Jim a look of impatience mingled with excitement. "It means," Jim stammered, emotions surging like waves. "It means there's something unresolved, something about that day that connects us all." Mrs. Anderson, who had been quietly observing, now stepped a little closer. "Sometimes truths hidden in the past can help illuminate the path forward," she said gently. Her presence felt supportive, and Jim's heart warmed at her kindness. "Do you think Mom knew something?" Billy asked cautiously, a flicker of hope shimmering in his eyes. "What if she was trying to tell you?" Jim looked at his kids, feeling a swell of love rush through him. "I think maybe she was. It's just up to us to find out what that is." "Makes sense now," Billy murmured, his brow furrowing. "Love is messy." Emily nodded, squeezing her brother's hand tighter. "So we have to dig deeper then, together." As they huddled closer, Jim felt the remnants of fear start to dissolve. They were a unit, ready to face whatever shadows lay ahead. He glanced at the phone one more time. "Should I respond? What do you think?" Suddenly, the door creaked, and their neighbor interrupted, her hand raised in a friendly wave. "Dinner's almost ready. You all coming over?" The siblings exchanged glances, and Jim felt the moment chill slightly. Could they step away from this emotional cliff? There was still much to uncover, yet the lure of warmth and comfort was inviting. "Let's take a break," Jim suggested, but immediately regretted it. His heart ached with the unfinished dialogue, but he saw the burning curiosity in Emily's eyes. "Just a moment longer," she pleaded. He hesitated, feeling the tug of family closeness, yet the weight of the truth echoed loud and clear. "Okay, just one more minute." As each of them leaned in again, another buzz pierced the air. The screen lit up again. "Jim, I have to tell you something about Linda, and it can't wait. You have to know." The anxious anticipation returned, growing stronger, more urgent than before. Jim's breath caught. This was no longer a simple chat. As he glanced at his children's expectant faces, he felt the pull of destiny enfolding them tightly. What was this unknown truth? What depths remained to explore? The stakes were higher, and the answers dangerously close. But could they really face whatever was about to emerge together? Only time would tell as the shadows of the past loomed just ahead. Jim stared at the phone one more time. Screen, his heart pounding. The message hung in the air, filled with possibilities, veiled truths waiting to spill into the room. He could feel the electric current of uncertainty twisting in his gut. Facing his children, he forced himself to break the heavy silence. "What do you think it could be?" he asked, trying to focus them away from the weight of his own fears. Billy and Emily shared a look, one that spoke volumes, a blend of dread and resolve, as if they each understood the implications this message could unearth. "I don't know," Emily said, her voice trembling slightly. "But if it's about Mom, it could change everything." Jim nodded, feeling a flood of emotions wash over him. He thought of every moment Linda had stood by him, laughter shared, love exchanged, and the harsh moments that had left scars. Would this revelation heal or deepen those wounds? Billy leaned in closer, his eyes flicking back to the phone. "You need to respond, Dad. We can't run away from this. Not now." Summoning his courage, Jim typed a quick reply. "I need to know. What about Linda?" His finger hovered over the send button, hesitating just a heartbeat longer. He took another deep breath, steeling himself for whatever came next. "I hope this doesn't open up old wounds, but I need to know. We all do." The seconds stretched as they waited, the air thick with anticipation. Jim caught Emily biting her lip, worry etched into her youthful features. "I think she did know something," she whispered, her voice a thread in the silence. "Maybe she left clues for us, like a treasure hunt." "Maybe," Jim replied, a hint of a smile forming despite the dread coiling in his stomach. "But a treasure hunt can be risky, too." Sure enough, the phone buzzed again. Jim's breath hitched as he opened the next message. "Jim, the secret buried that day has been hidden in plain sight. Trust your instincts and each other." "I don't get it," Billy said, his frustration bubbling up. "It sounds like she's telling us to embrace whatever feelings we have," Emily chimed in, her voice carrying a sense of urgency. "We can't hide from this." A wave of realization hit Jim like a tidal wave. Linda had always been intuitive. If only he had listened more, maybe he could have pieced together the fragments. Jim glanced around the room. What if the secret relates to each of us? Mom might have wanted us to confront it together. His chest felt tight with the realization that this was about more than just Linda. It was a chance for healing, a chance for his kids to see their mother's story through different eyes. "Together," he echoed. "We should stick to that, no matter what we discover." As they locked eyes, an unspoken promise passed between them, binding them closer. The shadows of their past seemed to recede just a little as they stepped toward the light of possibility. Another buzz came, interrupting the silence. "Jim, there's an envelope in the old oak tree. You'll find something important there, the key to understanding." A chill crawled up Jim's spine. He recognized the oak. It stood tall in their backyard, a monument of childhood memories, laughter, and secrets shared. "Is that the picnic tree?" Emily asked, her eyes wide with disbelief. "The one where we used to play?" "Yes," Jim breathed, feeling an old ache of nostalgia mixed with new excitement. "And I think it's time we went there." "What are we waiting for?" Billy exclaimed, his resolve surging. With a nod, Jim felt the weight of uncertainty transform into purpose. They would unearth the truth of that day together. But as they hurried toward the door, a thought struck Jim. Was he ready for every truth that could emerge from those roots? Would it redefine everything they thought they knew about their family? The oak tree loomed ahead, a sentinel guarding long-buried secrets, and the air buzzed with anticipation. What awaited them among the tangled roots and ruffled leaves of their shared history? At that moment, each step felt heavy with promise and trepidation, and they prepared to face whatever discovery might lie ahead. Together. The old oak tree was a giant amidst memories, its gnarled branches extending like arms that had cradled laughter and joy. Jim's heart raced as they approached, shadows dancing in the fading light. Each step seemed to echo his fears and hopes, intertwining like the thick roots below. "Is it really here?" Billy's voice broke through the thick silence, uncertainty lacing his words. Jim nodded, swallowing hard. He crouched down, the rough bark grazing his fingers as he scanned the base of the tree. "This is where Mom used to tell us stories," he said softly, almost to himself. She loved this tree. Emily knelt beside him, eyes wide. "I remember the stories about dragons and fairies." Her voice trailed off as she reached under the twisted roots. Jim's pulse quickened. It felt surreal, the weight of anticipation palpable. He watched as Emily's fingers brushed against something paper-like, and suddenly time stood still. "Here," she exclaimed, pulling out an envelope. It was weathered but intact, the edges worn from years of concealment. Jim felt a surge of emotions wash over him, curiosity, nostalgia, a sprinkle of dread. "Open it," Billy urged, leaning closer. Jim took a deep breath. The moment felt monumental, as if they were about to unlock something profound. He slid his finger under the flap, the old paper crinkling in protest. He pulled out a note, its handwriting unmistakably Linda's. The familiar loops and curves brought back a flood of memories, her voice echoing in his mind. Dear my loves, he began to read aloud, voice trembling. If you are reading this, it means I am not there with you. I need you to know that there are mysteries I couldn't share. There was a pause. What mysteries? Billy whispered. We're still veiled in mystery. This tells so much more than we realized, but why would she keep it from us? Emily asked, the weight of the letter pressing down on them. Maybe she thought she was protecting us, Jim replied quietly, grappling with the pain of the past. But then he felt it, a shift within. What if this letter leads us to a deeper understanding of her choices, of who she really was? Billy nodded, excitement rising again. Then we have to keep digging. Whatever this is, it's only the beginning. As they all exchanged glances, forming a united front, Jim felt his hopes rekindling. What if this changes everything? For us, he wondered, heart pounding at the thought. Like a key turning in a lock, he sensed that they were on the brink of unfolding something monumental. Their mother's legacy, buried in secrets, might pave the way to healing and understanding. Let's not stop here. There's more to uncover, Jim declared, feeling the thrill of discovery tingling at the tips of his fingers. As they immersed themselves in their search, the air around them buzzed with new possibilities. What other layers of truth lay hidden in the shadows of the past? The deeper they dug, the more alive the memories danced around them, urging them onward. Would these revelations lead them to answers, or would they open doors that were better left closed? As Emily finished reading the letter, she sat back, her eyes wide with astonishment. She was so full of life, so full of hope, she said softly, lost in thought. The attic seemed to hold its breath, as if sharing in their collective astonishment. Jim felt a lump forming in his throat. I had no idea. I always thought she had everything figured out, he murmured. Looking at the box, he searched its depths again, needing more context to understand the woman he thought he knew so well. Billy's curiosity pulled him closer to the remnants of their mother's past. What if there are more letters, or even more about her friend Sarah? He suggested eagerly, leaning over the box. He rifled through the old papers, determination etched on his face. Yeah, maybe there's something that connects us to her, Jim replied, a spark of excitement igniting in his chest. They worked together, sorting through the accumulations of years, old birthday cards with glitter that had faded, yearbooks with scribbled messages, and tiny trinkets that made them laugh at old inside jokes. Each item brought them closer to Linda, leaving traces of her laughter behind. Suddenly, a small leather-bound journal caught Jim's eye. It lay hidden beneath layers of dust and old wrapping paper, almost as if it had waited for this moment. He pulled it out, the cover worn but sturdy. What about this? With a nod from Emily, an enthusiastic grin from Billy, Jim opened it. The pages were filled with their mother's elegant handwriting. Vibrant entries flowed across the paper, a dialogue of her thoughts and feelings. It was raw and honest, a hidden world bursting with unfiltered joy and profound fears. They crowded around as Jim read the first few lines. Today marks my little Billy's first birthday. I can't believe how quickly time flies. My heart is fuller than I thought possible, he read, and suddenly the world outside the attic seemed to fade away. Emily's eyes glistened. I had no idea. It's like she's right here with us, celebrating every moment, she said, her voice thick with emotion. Jim turned the page, the thrill of discovery fueling his determination. Listen to this. But with joy comes fear. I worry I'm not enough for my kids. I want to give them the best of me, but how do I muster the courage to face my own demons? Billy's eyes widened. She felt that way too? Like she might be failing us? It sounds like she wrestled with her own insecurities, just like we do, Emily added, her heart heavy but grateful for the insight. Jim kept reading, the thrill of discovery fueling his determination. Listen to this. But with joy comes fear. I worry I'm not enough for my kids. I want to give them the best of me, but how do I muster the courage to face my own demons? Billy's eyes widened. She felt that way too, like she might be failing us. It sounds like she wrestled with her own insecurities, just like we do, Emily added, her heart heavy but grateful for the insight. Jim kept reading. The entries began to deepen, revealing the tumultuous nature of her heart. Moments of doubt, dreams dashed, hopes rekindled. In the shadows, I found light. I've started to understand that perfection is not my goal. Love is, he read aloud. The walls seemed to listen, the air thick with understanding and remorse. All this time, I thought she had it all together. She wasn't just our mom, but a person who fought for herself, too, Jim reflected, overwhelmed by the weight of it all. Now it all made sense. The tenderness in her laughter, the way her gaze would drift toward memories. She had built a life steeped in love while battling her own storms silently. As if struck by a common realization, Emily and Billy glanced at Jim. "What do we do with this?" Emily asked, a hint of fear coloring her question. "Share it. Embrace it. She wanted us to know," Jim replied firmly, affection washing over him. If they could honor her struggles, they could find a way to be free from their own. In that attic, filled with dust and echoes of the past, the connection began to form. They were linked not only by blood, but by discovery and understanding. The shadows they'd feared seemed less daunting together. "Let's promise to keep going, to honor what she shared," Billy suggested, looking earnestly at both of them. "Agreed," Jim replied, his resolve strengthening. "But we have to keep searching. There might be more journals. And what if Sarah's letters hold even deeper secrets?" As they dove back into the box, excitement coursing through them, Jim felt the urge to uncover whatever lay buried in the remnants of their mother's life. What else had Linda hidden? What parts of her story were left to tell? Together, in that moment of determination and shared hope, they took the first step toward not just discovering their mother's legacy, but perhaps rediscovering themselves along the way. As Jim reached for another envelope, a question flickered to life. What if their journey led them to heal generations of unspoken words? Jim felt the thrill of connection and curiosity ripple through him as they rummaged deeper into the box, each item a chance to understand the complex layers of the woman he loved and missed. Memories washed over him, family picnics, late-night talks on the porch, and moments of unfiltered joy that had turned into shadows he now faced. "Look at this," Emily exclaimed, pulling out an old, faded photograph. It depicted Linda with a vibrant group of friends, their laughter seemingly frozen in time. "This must be their circle from college. What if Sarah is in there?" Jim leaned in, piecing together the echo of voices from his past. "I can see the glimmer of hope in their eyes. They were so alive back then." He wondered how much his wife had shared with her friends, and if those friendships had offered her the support he wished he had been strong enough to provide. Billy rummaged through the items, pulling out several more letters, their handwriting so familiar yet strangely intimate. "Here's another one. It's from Sarah. She must have been a huge part of Mom's life." He held it up, excitement bubbling over. "Let's read it," the three of them declared in unison. Jim's heart raced, sensing that these letters were more than just words. They were portals into his wife's past and guideposts for understanding their own evolving familial network. With unsteady hands, Jim unfolded the letter. "Dear Linda," he began reading, "I've seen the light in your spirit dim slightly these days. I know the weight of motherhood can feel overwhelming. Remember that our choices don't define our worth. You are a wonderful mom, and I truly admire you for the love and strength you share." As he continued reading, Jim felt the walls of apprehension begin to crumble, piece by piece. Discovering Linda's insecurities lifted a burden from his heart. She was human, flawed and beautiful, just like us," he said, glancing up at his children. Billy nodded, his expression solemn but understanding. "We've all felt that way, like we're not enough. I guess that's part of being human." Emily's eyes sparkled with determination. "We can stop blaming our struggles for holding us back. Instead, we should celebrate them as part of our growth." Jim felt a surge of pride as they began to embrace this newfound wisdom. This journey would not just be a quest for past secrets, but an excavation of bonds, love, and acceptance. "Let's find out what else is hidden," he encouraged them, while feeling a sense of urgency. They still had so many items to explore, so many whispers of Linda to uncover. It felt like a race against time, and yet he cherished this shared pursuit as if it was a sacred ritual. As they delved deeper, they discovered more letters filled with heartfelt words, sharing struggles with emotions, dreams tangled. A vivid narrative, capturing the essence of color in a life once lived. "Mom even wrote about us," Emily exclaimed, pulling out another letter. "She captured our milestones, our laughter, and our hopes for our future." Jim felt tears prick at his eyes, overwhelmed by love flooding back. "She wanted us to know she believed in us, even during the tough times." For a moment, they were engulfed in silence, each processing the weight of her wishes. The attic, once a sanctuary of dust and forgotten corners, became a sacred space filled with pride and reflection. "Can we pause and take a moment for her?" Billy suggested, his voice barely audible, yet filled with reverence. They formed a circle, holding hands tightly. Jim could feel the warmth pulsing through them, a connection stronger than blood, solidified by empathy and understanding. "Mom, we love you," Jim began, wrestling with his emotions. "Thank you for showing us the power of love, the risks that come with it. We promise to continue embracing your teachings." "I'm grateful for every day you loved us," Emily added, her voice thick with emotion. "I will carry your lessons with me, always." "And we will make new memories we can be proud of," Billy affirmed, squeezing Jim's hands as if binding their resolve together. As their quiet moment of solidarity wrapped around them, Jim felt the weight of fear lift. Steps toward acceptance grew clearer, his heart swelled with awareness. So many misunderstandings had arisen from miscommunication, and now these revelations provided an opportunity for true healing. Releasing their hands, they refocused on the task at hand. Jim leaned in again, feeling the urgency to discover any last remnants of Linda's story. "Let's see what else we can discover in this box. Who knows what other wisdom lies hidden?" Eagerly, they unearthed more letters and artifacts, a journal entry capturing her aspirations, sketches of future plans, and lists of life goals, documenting dreams along with struggles. Each word revealed vulnerabilities that echoed the unspoken fears they shared. As dusk transformed into twilight, the attic glowed with possibilities, each layer of Linda's essence enveloping them in a warmth that defied time. "Look at this!" Billy shouted, holding up a colorful envelope adorned with stickers. "It's addressed to all of us. What could it be?" Jim nodded emphatically, his heart racing again. The adventure wasn't over. They hadn't just unearthed a past, they were creating a new narrative, combining the fragments of love, lessons, and dreams into a more significant tapestry. As Jim carefully opened the envelope, he knew this was the pivotal moment. What awaited them inside could reshape everything they thought they knew about family, resilience, and love. Together, they would confront the myriad surprises lying just beyond the threshold of understanding. "Whatever this is, I'm ready," Jim whispered, knowing full well that embracing change often leads to new beginnings. He exhaled slowly, the night air imbued with hope. It was time to embrace not only Linda's legacy, but to ignite their own. They would forge ahead and discover the next chapter of their story. What secrets did the envelope hold? What light would it shed on their journey? And where would it lead them next? Full of resolve, they stood united, ready to plunge into this new world together. Full of resolve, they stood united, ready to plunge into this new world together. The crucial leap of faith was within reach, and together they would navigate whatever came next, a journey bound by love. Now, as all families hope, they knew the core of that journey was about to unfold in ways they might never have anticipated. Don't wait, not even one more second, to share this journey with not just your friends, but your loved ones. You need to subscribe now and see what else unfolds from this powerful story. Leave a like now to ignite more tales of love and acceptance. Support matters. And comment below your favorite parts of this transformation, because only true fans understand the importance of rallying behind stories that define us. Share instantly with at least 5 friends who need this message today. Let's uplift each other and uncover the love waiting to be found together.